What's up, everybody? My name is Sid, and I've teamed up with the big homie Reg to bring y'all something new, something we like to call Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all be sure to review, rate, and subscribe. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, where every 25-point lead is safe. As always, I'm Sid. What's going on, Reg?
Hey, I'm doing good, but are we ever going to have a 25-point lead this year? That's the question, man.
I mean, we had our moments. They seem to have faded far from that to this point. So last night we had Monday Night Football in New Orleans, which is primetime games in New Orleans is always a special occasion for us Saints fans. But last night didn't quite go our way. We didn't talk last week, but even if we did, I'm quite sure what we said about going into this game would have been completely different by the time we saw who was actually able to line up for us last night. I don't even think it's going to take us long to get through this one. I honestly, gameplay-wise, I don't even have anything to speak on outside of how bad the offensive line was last night. You had Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz out there, but everybody else were backups or backups to backups. Yeah, so... And like so really that's my only takeaway from the game was even with all the COVID, can't call it injuries, but the people we had out due to COVID, even with all of that, I feel like every spot on our team was still pretty decent. Especially defense was still strong. Defense still came out there without Demario Davis, without Malcolm Jenkins. And all the other guys that they were missing, and still played as well as they could have played in that position. We gave up one touchdown on defense. The other one came as a pick six. So we only gave up one touchdown.
One. Yeah,
the other one came off the pick six. Yeah. So the defense played lights out, and nothing about the offense. Ian Book, the wide receivers, Alvin Kamara, none of that can even be assessed fairly because of how bad the offensive line was. So 20 to 3 is, I'm shocked that was even able to be the score with what we put out there last night.
Yeah, and I'll pick up where you left off. It all started with the 15 players or so that we were missing.
22 players.
I know 15 was due to the COVID.
22 due to COVID.
All 22 was?
Yep.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's damn near half of a team. So, I'll just start there. And you mix that in with injuries that we already have, players that's lost for the season. And you touched on how bad the O-line was. I mean, man, we sent that text out early, like first quarter. Like, O-line is horrible. And Cesar Ruiz was out there, but he might as well had his backup out there the way he was playing. Wasn't a good day for that O-line and Saints in general. It's crazy how sometimes we'll get the same conclusion, but we go different routes on getting it for us when we discuss Saints. But you nailed it, man. It's unfair to judge Ian Book or anyone else that was out there because the line was so bad. It was times when Miami, they pretty much faked the casino blitz. He snapped the ball, 8 dropped back, and those 3 guys were able to break in. So
immediately.
So it just wasn't a fair game for Ian Book with his first time getting under center for us.
Yeah, and that's we can book this one as the Saints COVID game of the year because we had the game earlier this year when we went to Carolina, but we went without some coaches. This was a totally different ball game, being down 22 players. Like you said, on top of the injuries that we already had, like Teron Armstead didn't play last night. He wasn't on the COVID list. He's just still injured. Wasn't much to take from that at all, except for, man, that defense is great. Like, that's
a lot of good takeaways from defense. A lot of good takeaways. You had Cam Jordan with 2 sacks. Davenport got a sack. Lattimore got a long interception to try to give a spark, but ultimately, when you're missing that many guys and 3 start offensive linemen, Ian Book limited time with the receivers we do have. With the ones we do have, he had limited time with. So man, that equals a bad night for Who Dat Nation.
Yeah, and I mean, we dropped to 7-8. Playoff hope still alive just because the rest of the people out down there at the bottom are bad too. They stink.
Yeah.
Everybody lost too
Mm.
this week except for Minnesota. But yeah, like the good thing is it was a COVID game, so those 22 players should be back for for Sunday's game. Um, and then once again, you're still looking at is Ryan Ramchick ready to go, even when he gets off the COVID list, and his arm's still going to be ready to go. But like I said, wasn't too much to take away from yesterday's game. Yeah, we can we can move on from that one quickly.
Yes, sir.
Um, one interesting, there was a couple interesting things that I did see while watching that last night. Like the 22 players on the COVID list, but the fact that we've had 57 different starters this season.
Jeez, that's so unlike New Orleans, right?
Unlike it, I think they said that's the most in the NFL ever.
Mm-hmm.
57 different starters this season, and of course we in a different time now with COVID taking away players week by week as well. But yeah, man, that's insane. Um, so let's look at some other games from the week, games that were much better than what ours was last night.
Yeah.
um, what do you want to start? Let's start with Colts Cardinals. That was Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Colts ended up getting a big win. Honestly, both teams really needed to win because the Cardinals have been they've been squeaking wins out, but it hasn't looked good. And every
Mm-hmm.
time you look up, you looking like, are they the team we thought they were?
Yeah,
Six
yeah.
games into the season. So what did you think about that one?
It's crazy that we saying this the same way, man. This is very unusual for us. I was just talking to someone and I said, I was really expecting the Cardinals to come down, put their foot down against the Colts defense that, even last year was pretty tough. This year, I like them so much better. They seem even better this year than they were last year. And I said I was looking for Kyler Murray and company to come out and make a statement, kind of get back in, to that groove they were in offensively before
Yeah,
they start losing players. But the person who I was talking about, they made a comment about the Cardinals missing J.J. Watt, which was, he was supposed to be a big part of
yeah,
their defense, and they even went time without Chandler Jones.
yeah.
And he was saying, give them time, basically. And I'm like, look, it's playoff time. But I like the approach that the Colts took, man. They kept everything in front of Arizona. Everything. Like, Kyler, sure, you can use your legs, but we're not
Yeah.
going to do anything foolish to have, everyone in man coverage turn our back on you and you take off. If you get them, you're going to have to earn these rushing yards. If y'all do score touchdowns, y'all have to go to the length of the field. The Colts defense gave up nothing cheap, nothing deep. They made him drop back, go through his progressions, make the correct read, and they lived with the result. And I honestly liked it. The Cardinals just, without DeAndre Hopkins, this is how I feel. Without DeAndre Hopkins, and they were without James Conner, that
Yeah,
game, I
James Conner
believe.
didn't play. Yeah,
James Conner
haven't
has
got
been
him back.
he's been a huge addition to their offense this year with the two-head monster they have at running back. Two guys that normally don't, beat up the inside running game, but they catch a lot of balls.
Yeah,
Until they get DeAndre Hopkins back, it's hard for me to have faith in the Cardinals. I just don't see them threatening anyone on the outsides with the receivers they do have. And Carson Wentz is playing off of Jonathan Taylor back right now. That's running back in the lead with who hurt. But they're not asking Wentz to go out there and win games. He's doing a great job being accurate with the football, and the Colts are riding that defense in the running game.
and that's what's been disappointing to me about Arizona. Is like I know you said without J.J. Watt, without Chandler Jones, but their defense hasn't ever been a concern for me at this point during the season. It's never been, oh, what are they going to be able to do defensively? It's their offense. We see it with Cincinnati. Sometimes you got all this talent on offense. I was looking at Arizona coming into this season. Okay, DeAndre Hopkins. Okay, DeAndre Hopkins hurt, cool, but they still got AJ Green, which we didn't know what we were going to see from him, but he's
Exactly.
had a good season. Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, you got Edmonds, you got Connor. So even if you don't have one, you have the other. You add Zach Ertz. Your offense you should still be able to move the football on offense. I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be. It's strange that they went out there and threw the football 40 plus times with Kyler Murray that game. I don't really understand that, but it's the offense and not being able to get into a rhythm and sustain it, even with DeAndre Hopkins, that's been weird to me.
Yeah.
I expect them to still be able to have a flowing offense, even without their number one receiver, especially when they have, like I say, Zach Ertz, Connor Edmonds. You see what he can do receiving out of the backfield. So that's been the thing that's been strange to me. The Colts, like you say, we're gonna ride Jonathan Taylor, Carson Wentz. Just don't mess this up for us. Similar to what Tennessee has been doing the past 3 years with Tannehill.
Mhm.
Look, we're
True.
gonna run Derrick Henry. We're gonna run Jonathan Taylor. When you do need to throw the ball, please don't mess this up for us.
Mhm.
Uh, and you see Michael Pittman coming along strong week after week, and T.Y. Hilton being back has given him another security blanket there. So yeah, Arizona, if they can't do anything on offense, they're not beating anybody.
And I,
Now they fall into second in that division, which once again we get on here every week and talk
so
about that
huge.
division, and they
Yeah.
lost their lead in that division.
Yeah, and real quickly, I think it's clear. Like I heard you mention a couple times the emergence of Michael Pittman. I think it's safe to say that he's the number one on that team now. Like Wentz definitely feel comfortable throwing him the ball. He even give him some shots at some deep 50-50 balls. So I think they feel like they found their guy in
But
Michael
they
Pittman
have no choice because T.Y. Hilton been up and down all season. He's
and
played.
hurt. He's
Yeah,
been
he's
hurt.
been hurt more games than he's been able to play.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, we basically see that one the same too. That situation, the Cardinals got 2 weeks to try to get it together. I mean, they made the playoffs. They in already, but now
Until
you're
they
looking at
get
a road game instead of being at home. And
I
every,
just can't until they can get D Hop. I think the offense can flow at times, but until they get D Hop, that offense can't be explosive to me. To me,
yeah,
they don't have any fear without DeAndre Hopkins being out there.
and then that means they can't do anything, in my opinion, because you telling me if a team goes out there and just sets their mind on taking D Hop away, what the rest of your offense gonna do?
That's
When you're going up
basically
against a Jalen Ramsey, what you gonna do?
yeah. That's basically what it comes down to.
So yeah, they done then if that's the case.
A game that I like to touch on, I know it's a team that you've been kind of big on, are the Bengals, a team who you kind of just spoke about, making reference to. They had a game against the Ravens where they defeated the Ravens in dramatic fashion. How did you see that one?
Once again, if there's any team that has sustained the amount of injuries and COVID issues and stuff like that as the Saints, has been the Baltimore Ravens. They started their season out banged up. Corners going down, running backs going down. It's
Man,
continued all throughout this season. It seems like the only person that can stay healthy is Mark Andrews.
it's
Outside, I mean, they went into this game with a third string quarterback.
hmm
Uh, who I didn't know was still in the league, if we being completely honest. I didn't know Josh Johnson was still running around here. But they went into that game with a game plan that was, let's keep him safe a little bit, but he's a veteran. He's been doing this.
true,
We can
true.
trust him a good bit. And they
hmm
let him throw the football 40 times. He had 300 yards. He only threw one interception, only got sacked once.
hmm
So when you just looking at the stats, you saying, well, where did it go wrong in this football game? If Mark Andrews is the only consistent in Baltimore. So when it comes to these other receivers, the Hollywood Browns, I forgot Sammy Watkins was even still there till Sunday. Um, you're fishing for people to try to, and just like in New Orleans, we see it's a different receiver every week that's trying to get force fed but can't make plays. You're not making plays. Most of those 300 yards, I'm quite sure, came in, trash time.
Yeah.
By that time, I had turned the game off, and it was just red zone popping up every 50 seconds because Joe Burrow was throwing 60-yard bombs every time he got the football. The Bengals offense, should he be out there throwing for 500 yards a game every game? No, that's not realistic. But that's closer to what I expect them to be than what they have shown sometime this season. Just like we just talked about with Arizona, they've been really inconsistent. When you go out there and you see the Bengals end up in a 16-13 victory, and you're like, well, what happened? Like, you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. You got Joe Mixon in the backfield. You're using both of your tight ends effectively.
Yep.
And Joe Burrow is, for what it's worth, he's a mobile quarterback. So he's not just standing in the pocket, and if things break down, he can't go anywhere. But what I saw from the Bengals Sunday is what I expect to see from them every week to some degree. And it's
Man.
sad that it took them to This is the second time they did it to Buck. They did it to him earlier this year in the same fashion. A
Little,
healthier team.
little payback from last year. That's all it is.
Yeah.
They had it
So,
on the line.
I can't. I guess Baltimore's defense was Baltimore's defense. Like it was what it was. But offensively, I can't take anything away from Baltimore, just like I couldn't from New Orleans.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy that you say we saw this game the same way again. It's getting scary. You said you couldn't put your finger on it. Like you saw him completing balls earlier, you saw them moving the chains, but it wasn't resulting in nothing. It resulted in nothing. And the only thing I could point the finger to was they made no attempt to run the ball. Like they didn't even try to find a creative way to throw the ball. I'm sorry, to run the ball. And I felt like that's when they kind of went down, when they showed Cincinnati their hand early. Like, look, we just basically come out here and saying we're not going to run a football. It's going to be pass, 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 drop back after drop back. And I kind of think that's where they kind of made their mistakes. They were kind of able to key in on the outsides and say, all right, well, look, we're going to force everything underneath and we're just going to make the tackle. That's why you seen the tight end, Mark Andrews, with so many catches, so many targets, yet again, because they were like, yo, we're going to allow this 3 yard. We're going to allow this 5 yard, but we're going to make this tackle afterwards. Josh Johnson played it safe. He played a conservative game for the most part. And, every time you gave the ball to Cincinnati, it's bombs over your head. Touchdown.
Yeah.
So then you get the ball back again. You conservative. They force a stop. They get the ball, touchdown. So it just was a game plan we never saw really take off because of how great that Bengals offense was. All the guys that you talked about, T. Higgins, 12 catches, 194 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase, 7 catches, 125. Tyler Boyd, 3 catches for 85 yards. Joe Burrow on the day was 37 for 46, 525 yards, 4 touchdowns. If you had him in fantasy, congratulations. You're moving on to the next round if you were in the playoffs. So it just was a great day. Joe Mixon, he had a quiet day, but yeah, he still scored the touchdown. So everybody got in on the action. And of course,
didn't Mixon go over 100?
I don't think so.
I thought he went over 100 too.
I don't think so. It was because I know they pulled him kind of late. He was out there sharing snaps later part of the game.
Oh yeah.
And we saw Trey Hendrickson record a sack, a former Saint, and also a former New Orleans Saint. Von Bell had a INT in that game. So
I saw a stat about him too. Hendrickson. I want to say they say he's recorded half a sack for like
the
18 straight games.
Yeah, it's something crazy.
Yeah, it's the NFL record. Like it's the longest streak. So I was like, man, that's good to see. Because like I say,
the same production he gave. Same production he gave us last year. He's doing the same thing this year with Cincinnati.
100%. And once again, we talked about it in the offseason. Do you franchise tag him or do you try to find the money for him? And I was like, man, for that price tag, I'm not willing to bet on it. But I'm glad to see that he's actually able to, keep up that production.
Definitely.
Another game to look at, Buffalo, New England. Buffalo went into New England and got a 33-21 victory. It was closer than what it was.
At times.
At times it felt like it was worse than 33-21, and at times it felt like it was closer than 33-21. But Josh Allen had it going early. Yeah. He had it going early, and once again, it's one of those situations to where you look at it and you say, okay, what did his number one receiver do? And then you say, okay, well, Stephon Diggs, he has 7 catches for 85 yards. Okay, what about the supporting cast? And then you got Isaiah McKenzie with 11 catches and 125 yards, and you're like, oh, that's where they won the game. Because we all know who the number one is. We know who all the eyes going to be on, and he still went out there and had 7 catches, 85 yards, a touchdown. So if you give me somebody else who's going to go out there and get over 100 yards and a touchdown as well, then you in trouble. And we talking about a New England defense who everybody, we're all real big on that secondary. J.C. Jackson, McCourty, all those guys that's back there that's played, lights out this season. And Josh Allen was able to go out there and do what he wanted to, honestly. Rushing the football, he had 64 rushing yards on top of a 300-yard passing game, no turnovers.
Yep.
You're usually not going to lose if that's the case. And on the other side of the football, Buffalo's defense was able to really minimize what it is that they wanted to do on offense. Mac Jones didn't go out there and have a horrible game, but they kept everything, like you said, they kept everything in front. Y'all gonna take these nickels and dimes, we'll give it to y'all, but y'all not about to get anything deep. You're not about to, get anything behind us or anything like that. And kept him to a very low scoring game. I want to say both of his turnovers came in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Damian Harris, he went over 100 yards, but once again, we give 18 carries, so 5 yards a carry. He had all three of their touchdowns.
Yep.
Okay, cool. But you're not about to break off these long runs on us. You're
Mm-hmm.
not about to, get behind us. So Buffalo did a really good job. I'm more impressed with what they did offensively, honestly, against that New England defense than what they did defensively. But yeah, that was a game they really needed to stay in that NFC East number one race.
Yeah, and every time they play, this is a game that is much must watch TV for me. Josh Allen was a quarterback I was pretty big on when I first started reading up on him. Of course, you see the guy 6'5", 235, 40 pounds, and he can move, and he got a super strong arm. Got to see him in action, right? So New England to me is the measuring stick for Josh Allen. That's kind of like what I judge him by. Last 2 years, he's played New England great. I know he lost a sloppy game this year that was played in the snow, but New England only threw the ball, I think, 3 times, 2 or 3 times, and they got the win. But other than that, Josh Allen, the last couple of years have been on fire against New England, although they've had great defenses. And you kind of touched on it. Diggs, he didn't have a great game, but 7, 8 catches, like you said, 85
785.
yards and a touchdown. I feel like New England was completely comfortable with that stat line coming in the game, saying
Yeah.
he can have that and yet we can still win because they have nowhere else to go with the football. Well, like we spoke of, Isaiah McKenzie kind of went crazy. 11 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Now, he was doing all the dirty work for us, making the chains move and all that good stuff. To me, the difference is the game. When they needed a first down, Josh Allen was able to use his legs, or that's when he did turn to Stephon Diggs,
Mm-hmm.
to complete the ball on third down. But New England showed nothing offensively. They were super flat. It looked like the Saints, pretty much. Like a whole lot of short passes, and when I say short, I really mean short. Nothing threatening on the outsides whatsoever. Like a lot of times he was under pressure, got some throwaways, but even like on a replay, no one was open downfield. They had nothing threatening on the outsides, and that defense was able just to minimize the field on them and couple bad throws, a couple bad reads. I think Michael, what's his name? Hyde, the safety. He had two
Yeah, Micah
interceptions
Hyde.
that game.
Yeah.
So this was a bad game for New England.
And that's what you look at when you look at an offense like the Patriots offense, who has a good running back, but your best receiver are your tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
So once you okay, well, what happens when Tre'Davious White come down on Hunter Henry and says, "Look, I'm not letting Hunter Henry do anything today." Well, you got to go to these other guys, the Nelson Aguilars and the
Yeah.
Kendrick Bournes and the Jacoby Myers of the game
Yep.
of the world, who show to be inconsistent. One
Mm-hmm.
week they might go out there and get you 7 for 85 and a touchdown, and another week they'll have 3 drops.
Yep.
And you looking like, well, damn, I can't get no help out here. So that was one of those games, and that win tightens up that NFC East race.
We know that the Patriots defense finished without a INT or a sack that game, but I saw in the third quarter where they didn't even get a hurry on Josh Allen, and we were in the third
Yeah,
quarter. It was that
yeah.
bad.
Um. Okay, so let's look at what is now the playoff picture. 16 weeks in, bro. This season has flown by. Um, but we 16 weeks in. Um, we talked about it last time we was on, how crowded that AFC and NFC picture
Yeah.
is when it comes to those last two spots.
Mm-hmm.
You got New England sitting at 9-6 in the AFC, Raiders at 8-7, but then you got Dolphins, Chargers, Ravens also at 8-7,
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh at 7-7-1. And
Yep.
in the NFC, it's the same thing. You got 49ers and the Eagles at 8-7, and then you got Vikings, Falcons, Saints 7-8, Washington 6-9. Um, but as things stand right now, we'd be looking at the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers with the bye weeks.
Right.
And then in the AFC, you'd have Titans taking on the Raiders. the Bengals, Patriots, and then the Bills and the Colts.
Gotcha.
And then NFC, you got Rams, Eagles, Buccaneers, 49ers, Cowboys, Cardinals. Um, Dang, just reading that off, those NFC matchups aren't close to me. Like, I, I was just reading the Rams, Eagles, that should be a blowout. The
Right.
Bucks and the 49ers, that
That's it. Blowout.
it
Because San
depends on how
Francisco,
healthy Tampa Bay is going to be.
I don't think San
Because
Francisco will be able to run the ball against Tampa. So really,
yeah,
that
but
could
I
result,
don't have any confidence in Tampa Bay's offense against a decent defense right now.
even with
Um,
Antonio Brown back.
Even with Antonio Brown back, if Mike Evans is out there, then that makes all the difference to me. But if
Okay,
you
so
tell me
Mike.
it's Antonio Brown, Tyler Johnson, and Scotty Miller, then no, I'm not afraid of that.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know.
All right.
But yeah. So and then Cowboys, Cardinals. We just talked about the Cardinals,
Mhm.
and what they haven't been able to do on offense. And we know what Dallas's defense is. They ball hawks. They're out there just trying to force turnovers. They trying to
Jeez.
get yeah, and now they're getting to the quarterback more effectively. With a healthy D line, Parsons was doing it alone, but now Lawrence has come
Yeah.
on
What a
strong.
game he had.
Uh, Randy Gregory has come on strong. So all those guys. So man, looking at what is projected to be the first round matchups of the NFC playoffs, I don't even see a close matchup within that. That's crazy. AFC wise, that's a bit different. You got Tennessee and the Raiders. You
Hmm.
got the Bengals and the Patriots, Bills and the Colts. Now, Bengals, Patriots, Bills, Colts, though, that should be classics right there.
Hmm.
When you look at, especially once again, we just touched on a lot of these teams. We just touched on the Bills and the Colts and the Bengals.
Hmm.
Um, oh yeah, Bills, Colts, Bengals. We didn't touch on the Titans. But Tennessee, once again, we wondered what they were going to be going into after losing Derrick Henry. And they've had their ups and downs, especially when Julio Jones can't seem to stay healthy. AJ Brown just came back; he had a phenomenal game Thursday
Great
night.
game. Yeah.
Which is what I know you way bigger on AJ Brown than I am.
Hmm.
You were telling me last year, look, AJ Brown is he that dude,
Yeah.
and this year has just been a bad one for him. But if they can feed him the way that they was able to feed him Thursday, that makes Tennessee a different threat on offense. But how do you like those matchups? Looking at that playoff picture in the AFC.
AFC, which game you want to start with?
Let's start. Let's do Bills Colts. I feel like that might be the most interesting one right there. The 4-5 matchup. Bills Colts.
Bills Colts. I think that's a game where home field will play like a huge role. Like whoever's hosting that game, like have all the momentum leading up to it. However, although I like the Colts, we both are bigger than most NFL fans on Carson Wentz. Um, Even though Carson Wentz is having great numbers, I still feel like he has yet to get to that level he was playing at in Philly before the
Yeah.
injury. Like we said earlier, all defense and all Jonathan Taylor. The Bills have a pretty good defense. They have a pretty solid unit. I feel like, of course, they're going to try their best to contain Jonathan Taylor and make Carson Wentz throw the football as many times as he possibly can. If you can get Carson Wentz to throw the ball 30 times, it has to result in at least one turnover. That's how you got to feel if you Buffalo.
Yeah.
And the way Josh Allen has been playing kind of up or down, we know the great game he just had. Maybe he stays hot, his playoff time. I would have to put my money on the Bills, knowing that they have just as good of a defense as the Colts. But to me, their offense is better because of the quarterback capabilities.
Yeah.
So whether Buffalo is hosting or visiting, I would take Buffalo to win that game against the Colts.
Yeah, right now they would be the home team. But I 100% agree with you. Once again, if they take the same philosophy they just took into New England to go play somebody like the Colts, where Jonathan Taylor go get 100 yards, we gonna live with that. But when it comes to this passing game, y'all not getting nothing.
Right.
And Carson Wentz, like you say, the more Carson Wentz throw it, the more likely he is to turn the football over.
Mm-hmm.
You were generous. You said one. He throw the football 30 times, you gonna get 2 turnovers about us. At
That's
least.
it. I'm looking for.
At least you gonna get 2 of them up out of them. So I'm with you. Buffalo definitely would have to be favored in that matchup. I would definitely roll with them. Bengals Patriots. the Patriots going to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. How would you see that one playing out? Because that's one of those great offense against a great defense matchup right there.
Yeah, that one may be a little bit closer, but I think at the end of the day, um, I'm just not sure if New England has the offense to back up that defense,
Yeah,
especially during playoff time. One thing I do like about Bill Belichick is he throws everything at young quarterbacks. If you are a rookie or 2 3 year guy, you're gonna see everything from Bill Belichick. He's gonna make it as difficult as possible for you to move the ball. Jamar Chase is a true number one already to me in football. We spoke about the other weapons that they have in Boyd and Higgins, and then we always forget about Joe Mixon to me, who's having a pretty solid year. It's
yes,
just
yep,
that Joe Burrow is just like the spotlight or whatever. So Cincinnati can play defense when they want to, but I
yeah.
think they have just enough to keep the game close, even in a close game. And I think the Bengals offense would be the difference of that game. So I would have to go against Bill and take Cincinnati.
So it definitely matters to me how the Bengals finish out this season, because we just talked about how offensively they seem to be inconsistent at times this season. So if you're telling me, okay, Burrow just went out there and had an amazing 500-yard game, and then in week 17 he went out there and they barely put up 16 points, that concerns me. Because
Mm.
then I'm saying, well, that means y'all either getting in your own heads, or there's a scheme out there that can stop. And if there's a scheme out there that can stop them, Bill coming into that game with that scheme and
Pressure.
is going to play it to perfection.
Pressure.
So
Hmm.
I think right now I think I would take the Patriots. Man, that defense is going to travel. Damian Harris is a true number one back who's out here getting 100 yards a game at this point when he's healthy. Um, I can easily bet on the Bengals having a explosive offensive game. I can bet on that as much as betting on them going out there and laying a dud.
Yeah,
So,
I feel you.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it,
I feel you.
it
I can't
it
even
really
be mad at
depends on
it.
me. It really
Yeah,
depends on how they go and take these last two games and go into the playoffs. But right now, I just have to roll with the Patriots.
gotcha.
The last one in the AFC right now is Tennessee Titans against the Las Vegas Raiders, which is a very odd one to me. For one, because once again, we didn't know what was going to happen with Tennessee after they lost Derrick Henry. They were the number one seed by a few games. Now they fallen only to number two, which is probably a shock to a lot of people that they're even there. And Vegas, man, with all they've gone through
Ups
this
and
season,
downs and off
somehow
the field.
they're still scratching and clawing to get into the playoffs. So they'd be traveling to Tennessee. How do you see that one going, man?
So I'm gonna start by saying this. You know how every year you kind of got a team that's kind of your dark horse that you kind of pulling for on the
Yeah,
low side. That's been the Raiders for me, but they let me down, man. They got up to a pretty good start. I'm like,
yeah,
do it. I know, and then they kind of went down their hole, and now they're climbing right back out of it. Jacobs, man, when he's running the ball the way he ran the ball Sunday, I mean, they just hard to beat, man. When
yeah,
you getting the offensive line being that aggressive and they forcing him to rock, only good things gonna happen. But then we know they can kind of go right back and say, all right, forget about this running game. Kenyon Drake hurt, whatever the case is. We're gonna add this thing out, and plus we're gonna be conservative, like they did against KC and a couple other teams this year, and they get their head beat in. So the Titans, one thing that they've showed me is that even moving forward without Derrick Henry, they're still tough out in the NFL. They
yeah,
still play
yeah.
their style of football, which is a lot of play action, a lot of QB rollouts. Tannehill hasn't really given games away, although he still hasn't been as good as he was last year. I would have to bet on Tennessee being a playoff team last year, veteran quarterback, a pretty gutsy head coach. I would have to rely on all that good stuff and take them over the Raiders if they do meet up in the playoffs.
This is another tough one.
Tennessee,
Because
they're used to playing close games as well.
Tennessee, once again, no Derrick Henry. So they've been cycling through running backs. I mean, at one time we saw Adrian Peterson out there. Now it seems like
Savior.
that. Now it seems like they're rolling. They're good with Deontay Foreman, but he's still not a true number
Up and
one back in
down.
the
Yeah.
NFL. And then once again, what receivers are going to be out there? Is it going to be Julio and AJ Brown? Is it going to be just Julio? Is it just going to be AJ Brown? Is it going to be neither of them?
Mm-hmm.
And then if those guys are out there, we've seen them out there together and healthy for some games this season to where still nothing.
True.
Even when Derrick Henry was there, which when we looked at that and said, man, if Derrick Henry's healthy and those two guys are healthy, you're not going to be able
Lights
to
out.
stop this offense.
Yep.
They were stopped every time they went out there. So the Raiders, to me, I like Derek Carr more than I like Ryan Tannehill as a decision maker with the football.
Okay.
If Darren Waller is going to play, if he's out there, I don't know how Tennessee can really match up with him, particularly.
He hasn't been out there in quite some time, though.
He hasn't been out there. I know that from what I saw, he's projected to play this week, but we'll see. I don't even know exactly what his injury is.
That man been projected to play the last, I won't say like 3 weeks or something crazy like that.
Which
And
to
have
me
it lined
makes
up.
me feel like they just trying to protect him. Like I said, I don't know exactly what the injury is, but they could just be trying to protect him. Look, let's not worsen it. We still in a good position to get into the playoffs. Let's keep it in. But if he plays, that's a tough matchup for that Tennessee defense. And like you say, Josh Jacobs, right? That's one guy that's honestly disappointed me over his career to this point.
Really?
Just because it's inconsistency. It's the same thing. Like he's never, and honestly, part of it, I don't even think it's his fault. I think it was a lot of what John Gruden wanted to do that wasn't really, involving him as much as it should have been. So maybe that's part of it, and maybe he's going to be able to turn the corner now. But like you said, if Josh Jacobs is going to run the football like he had, last weekend at times this season, then that's going to be too much for Tennessee, in my opinion.
Okay.
So at this moment, like I say, not knowing what's going on with Julio and AJ Brown, I know they say they want Derrick Henry to get back. I don't think he'd be back for Wild Card Weekend.
No.
I know they say they think he'll be back for the playoffs, but I don't think it'd be Wild Card Weekend. So I'd have to go with the Raiders, honestly.
Okay. Gotcha.
Rams Eagles. The Eagles traveling to the Rams. I'm just interested on how you feel about the Eagles in general at this point.
Oh, they overachieved. I feel like they overachieved slightly. Once again, didn't know the situation with their O-line coming into this game. Miles Sanders, to me, into this season, I really wasn't impressed with a lot that he has done. And I feel like I'm starting to treat him like I'm treating Jalen Hurts. Like, it's not enough around you for me to fairly judge you. I mean, we got Elvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the league. And if you base him on performance, he go out there and a lot of times you don't even know if he's on the field. Yeah. So teams are going to key in on the little that the Eagles have as well. But for them to even compete with the Cowboys the last 2 years, load as that roster been, and now we're looking at a Philadelphia Eagles team that's find themselves in the playoffs if they started today. I have to tip my hat off to them. All that being said, the Rams is the last team that they want to be playing right now. You have any questions about your O-line or your O-line is not proven? You do not want to see, the Rams front four. We know what they have in the secondary. Williams is, to me, is slowly becoming more of a household name. He gets tested so much because no one wants to go at Jalen Ramsey, and he holds his own. So to me, that's just a solid unit defensively already that can come into anybody's stadium and say, we feel like we could hold them under 20. So you mix that with the fact that Matthew Stafford probably put a couple tubs on your head. To me, there's no way Philly can win that game. To me, it's been on fire. Be still hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got a lot going on. He spreads the ball around. I think the best thing they can ask for is Philly have one of them great games rushing the ball. We do know the Rams all weak at the running back position, so maybe if they can get some of them crazy Stafford turnovers and they can just pound the hell out the rock and those drives in touchdowns and they milk the hell out the clock, anything can happen. It is football, but if I had to put money on it, I'm going Rams.
The Rams is one team this season that's just kind of like Tampa Bay was last year. When Tampa Bay, for the most part, last year they avoided a lot of injuries, so they were the healthiest team at the end. The Rams have been catching breaks. Two particularly. One, they brought in Odell Beckham and lost
And
Robert Woods. Yeah, they
was
lost Robert Woods, but okay, we gonna be able to plug in Odell right there. Henderson got hurt again Sunday. Um, they sent him out for the rest of the year. They say
mm-hmm.
Cam Akers can probably go this week. So once again, which is who was projected to be their number one back this year to begin with.
Oh, he
So
wasn't projected. He was.
Sony Michelle has looked better than anybody thought he was going to,
Mm-hmm.
as with the Rams, and now you've been able to get Cam Akers back into the fold. Henderson should be back for the playoffs. Um, I'm with you. Like, there's nothing I like. Even for them to have a crazy rushing. Miles Sanders broke his hand. I don't know how long he's going to be out, or if he's coming back at all this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at Jordan Howard and Boston Scott, which every time I look up and look at Philadelphia, I'm like, dang, they do still play football. I forgot about those guys. So, and they go out there and they have good performances, which, to Philly's credit, I think that has a lot to do with their offensive line. Their passing, all the pass blocking of their offensive line isn't great, but it seems like their run blocking is what they're better at, because they've had 4 running backs to go, rush for 100 yards, in different games this year. But there's nothing about the Philadelphia Eagles that I'm looking at and saying, yes, they do this, they can end up winning this game. Devontae Goddard is a player that I like a lot, but once again, that Rams defense is. I don't even think that Jalen Ramsey is gonna have to follow anybody, because like you said, I'm with you about Darius Williams. I like Darius Williams. He holds his own. So Devontae Smith, Goddard, no Miles Sanders. Jalen Hurts is a young quarterback who Aaron Donald and Von Miller are going to be itching to get at. I don't see a way for Philly to win that football game.
Yep.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers. I told you when I first ran down this list that it's a lot about health to me for the Buccaneers. I stood on it at the beginning of this year and said the Bucs not going to be able to avoid injuries like they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's proven to be true. Godwin out for the year. Fournette's out for at least the rest of the season. I think they think they can get him back for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Evans is up and down with his hamstring.
Mm-hmm. They probably out.
So there's a lot of things going. Their secondary's been banged up all year.
Devontae David's out for the year too, right?
I think so. I think he is. I think he is out for the year. Once again, that secondary has been banged up all year.
Mm-hmm.
But the 49ers, Jimmy G, his hands messed up. They say he got torn ligament in his thumb or something like that. So they'll probably be forced to play Trey Lance over the next couple weeks. If it was anybody, if it was an actual good team, in my opinion, I'd be taking them over the Buccaneers. But Tom Brady at home, they still have decent weapons. Like I said, if Mike Evans can play, that makes all the difference in the world. You know what AB can do when he's called on to be a number one. Gronk seems to be healthy. Cameron Brate seems to be healthy. Ronald Jones is healthy. That's still too much given to Tom Brady for a team like the 49ers, who hasn't. That's another defense who hasn't played as well as I thought they would this season. In the lines of Washington football team and their defense, I'd still have to take Tampa Bay in that game. I think, like you said, you don't even know for sure if the 49ers will be able to run against Tampa Bay, and they have all kind of running backs that they're going to throw at them. But just like the Saints, I like the Saints and the Bucs the same way in that manner. We're not going to let you run the football on us.
Right.
So what is your quarterback going to do? Just like Carson Wentz, we know what it is with Jimmy Garoppolo. You let him throw the ball 30, 35 times, he giving it away twice. Yep. So, and you can't give the GOAT any extra opportunities because he gonna capitalize on them. So, once again, just like the Rams, I would easily be picking Tampa Bay in that matchup.
It doesn't make sense for me to add anything to what you just said. That is exactly how I see it. And I thought you were going to go there, but you didn't. You said if this was a better team, right? And
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say if it was a better quarterback, then maybe you would be taking, this team.
yeah,
But the one thing that Tampa is weak in is the secondary. They got Carlton Davis back. He's finding his feet and all that good stuff, getting the rhythm back. But that secondary is still the weakest point of that team to me,
yeah,
not just the defense, but of the team.
yeah,
And if you're going to beat Tampa, you got to have a veteran quarterback or someone that is a good passer of the football, someone who can kind of make that defense pay for the things that they do and all that
yeah,
zone coverage. And that's not Jimmy G to me. On a good day, one of his great days, Jimmy G's capable of it. But I would just want a more proven quarterback going
yeah.
against this Tampa Bay led team, especially if they get Leonard Fournette back. Now, I don't care if Mike Evans don't play, long as they got the secondary guys and AB, and you're telling me I still got Gronk, I still have OJ Howard, all the rest of these guys. Cool, I'm good with that. Long as I got Leonard Fournette, I'm taking Tampa them all day long with no excuses, no hiccups, no nothing. But yeah, either way it go, I got Tampa Bay winning this game.
Got you. Um, and for the record, I still give the 49ers a better chance with Jimmy Garoppolo than Trey Lance at this
Absolutely,
point.
at this point, absolutely.
Um, so the last matchup will be the Cowboys and the Cardinals, which out of those, what's projected to be the first round matchups at this moment would be the best matchup, in my opinion, would be the Cardinals going to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. How do you see that one?
I think this is the fairest matchup that we have right now in the NFC, just
Yeah,
like you see it. This can really be a high scoring game, or it can be a blowout.
yeah,
Either way it go, it wouldn't
yeah,
surprise me. I do have Dallas winning this game. We know what Dak can do when he's on target, when his throws is lining up, when he's not having an issue with his accuracy. Dak Prescott is one of the better quarterbacks in the
yeah,
NFL. It was so good, and I'm not even a Cowboys fan, but I must say it was so good to see Amari Cooper kind of get back in rhythm, catching
yeah,
some balls and doing what he do. I think long as they have him and CD and the rest of the guys healthy, Dallas, can score points on just about any defense in the league. We know that their defense, they get a lot of turnovers, and they also can get to the quarterback with all those speed rushes they got. Kyler Murray can have a outstanding day, and this thing could turn into a shootout. At the end of the day, I still trust Dallas's offense and Dallas's defense more than I trust the Cardinals. So I will take Dallas to win this game either way.
So I liken the Cowboys to the Bengals, where I say, well, it depends on how that offense looks the last 2 weeks for me, because the Cowboys have been in those same situations. They went out there and dropped 56 on Washington on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and have the potential to go out there next Sunday and
16
16-13
points.
victory. Yeah. And which is crazy because Dallas's defense has been more consistent throughout this season than their offense, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody would have ever thought that going in. They have the talent, they have the quarterback, they have the number. They got two number one receivers. At least, like Michael Gallup is another guy who just doesn't get enough shine because of who the other two guys are. But Dalton Schultz has been showing up more and more. Like they got so much on that offense.
Yeah.
They lost Pollard for a minute. He's already back. Zeke is looking, as fresh as he's been all season. Um, it's hard for me to pick against them just because even with the inconsistency of their offense, I trust their defense more than I trust Arizona's at this point. And I still trust the offense more than I trust Arizona's at this point, unless Hopkins is going to be there, which we don't know at this point. So yeah, I'd be rolling with the Cowboys in that instance as well.
Nice.
So I think we went opposite
Twice.
AFC. Yeah, two games in the AFC. I don't think we didn't go opposite in the NFC at all.
How can you blame
Uh,
us?
exactly. Like, uh, okay, so let's talk about. Dang, they got left. So let's talk about the draft. And well, the draft order. specifically at this point because we still figuring that out. I told you Detroit was gonna mess around and win too many games to where they was gonna move up out of that number one spot. So they sitting at number 2 right now. But I know you wanted to look at 11 through 15
Mm-hmm.
this week and how that would play out.
I'm not sure if it changed any from last night,
I was
but
just about to. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
we'll just roll what we got. Forgive us if it's not 100% accurate with the changes of yesterday game result. So at 11 and 12, you will have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles picking at 11 was actually from Miami. So
Okay.
they have 2 picks at
Got
11 and 12.
it. Man, I want to. Did they change from the last time we did this? Because I want to feel like they had one in the top 10. The last time we went through this,
I
so
don't
I feel
think
like
so.
I gave them a pick already. But if so, it's fine. We're good. Back to back, outside of the top 10, right outside of the top 10 is a good position for Philly. Honestly, for some teams, I feel like it's bad when they get the top 5 pick because
Mm-hmm.
it puts so much pressure on them to absolutely knock it. Like I gotta, and they overthink it. They pick people they shouldn't pick just because, man, this
Uh-huh.
is Kyle Pitts last year. This is a once in a generation talent. I gotta take him, even though I don't need a tight end. Situations like that, which I don't knock Atlanta for doing, but situations like that. So being right outside the top 10 is actually, I feel like, good for Philly to have back to back picks right there. To me, it's easy. One, you take the best receiver on the board, which is probably going to be Garrett Wilson. If he's going Drake London out of USC. Um, with the other pick, whichever you have rated higher, offensive lineman or cornerback or safety, because Kyle Hamilton, I know, is
You said
projected
corner or quarter? I'm sorry.
corner, corner,
Corner. Okay.
corner. At this point, like I say, it's fair. It's unfair to write off Jalen Hurts at this point just because of what he's been surrounded with,
Mm-hmm.
and even with what he's been surrounded with, you've seen glimpses of okay, this is a guy we can roll with. So with him still being under his rookie contract for what 2 more years, yeah, I feel like you gotta keep rolling with that. So yeah, cornerback or safety, cornerback, safety slash lineman, whatever you have rated highest, whether it's Kyle Hamilton, one of these guards or tackles, you take that, and then you take you take whoever your top wide receiver is that's remaining, whether it's Wilson or Drake London.
I like both of those picks for Philly. They can't go wrong there. Moving in 13 at the time, we had the Denver Broncos. We know this has been a unit led by the defense. They're on the board. What you got them taking?
Quarterback.
Quarterback?
You got to take a quarterback right here. You know the Drew Lock situation not going to work. You knew that earlier this year when you brought in Teddy Bridgewater.
Uh-huh.
But you needed a bridge. So, okay,
Mhm.
Teddy, come on, so we don't have to stroll Drew Lock out there for the rest of the year.
So
Um,
you move on from Drew Lock basically without even giving him a fair chance.
he had a fair chance last season. He was at quarterback for most of the
He
season
was
last year.
he was hurt.
Hey, he was the quarterback for most of the season last year. Like was he hurt Sunday?
No.
Looked hurt to me. So for him to be healthy, and out there looking like that, I don't think there's a chance for him. Not in Denver. I'm not gonna say overall because situations help people be better. I don't think Denver is the place for him.
Okay.
There's a lot of Aaron Rodgers talk. I'm one of those believers that if Aaron Rodgers does, I think short of a Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. I
Mm-hmm.
think Denver would be a great situation for him. I'm just not ready to believe that he's actually sold on going there. So if he ends up in Denver, then of course they're not drafting a quarterback. I'm going to go off for him not going to Denver, and they draft a quarterback right here and try to find their future because it's not Teddy Bridgewater. We know that, and
Yeah.
no knock
Almost
on
any
Teddy, but we know what Teddy is. Yeah,
yeah. Almost anytime a quarterback that don't have a for sure thing at quarterback, a team, I'm sorry, take a quarterback is never a bad thing.
yeah.
Sliding in at 14,
New Orleans
no other than
wide
our New
receiver
Orleans
on the
Saints.
whoever. whoever, I don't care if we looking at Adam. I don't care if we look at. I don't care who draft board we're looking at. Mike Mayock. I don't care who draft board it is. Whatever our receiver is at the top at number 14. Come on down. We
The
as
best
soon as
available.
as soon as the sound go off, y'all just send that guy to the stage. We ain't got to send in no envelopes or none of that. I 14 is a great position for us, even though we know our mindset. We know we. Me, even as a fan, try what you can to make the playoffs, even at this point. Like, but if we don't, we don't. Whatever. 14. I don't feel like there's going to be three wide receivers gone by 14.
Okay.
Now, 1 and 2, Drake London, Wilson, they might be gone. If we could get one of them, that would be perfect for me. Even if we had to trade up to get one of them, that would be. And I'm not a fan of trading up in the first round because of what it costs. But that got to be a wide receiver right there. Has to be.
Okay. I could definitely live with that. No argument whatsoever.
And I
Saying
know
that we need a better
we're gonna
receiver.
talk about New Orleans crazy during the offseason and stuff like that, but quarterback, this isn't the draft to be reaching for a quarterback. We have other options. It's just gonna come down to which ones are realistic to us. But yeah, I would definitely not want them drafting a quarterback this year.
Gotcha. And finally, with today's draft, we take a look at the Cleveland Browns, who have been very good defensively, but have had their woes offensively, especially passing the ball since under Baker Mayfield. Where do you have Cleveland going with the 15th pick?
This is tough, and I'm gonna tell you why. I I like Baker Mayfield more than most people. I
Very
don't
true.
I don't feel like Baker has done enough to sell Cleveland on him. But he's popular, if that makes sense. Like he's a real popular guy, but his play on the field hasn't earned him a contract of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, which is what he's going to be seeking from the Cleveland Browns.
I don't know. I
Uh,
thought they had talks already pretty much concreted about his contract.
no, not at
Okay.
all. Yeah, they did, and so I think they're going to keep him because once again, there's something to popularity, and I think most of their fans really, really like him as well. They chose him over Odell, basically, so
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be their quarterback. Um, but and once again, this draft doesn't help. If this was a better quarterback draft, I'd probably say they move on from Baker and draft a quarterback. Honestly, because they haven't paid him yet, they'd probably move on from him and draft a quarterback. But this draft class with the quarterbacks isn't good. So Cleveland is in a situation to where the defense is shows up pretty much most weeks, and their offense is where they struggle, which is crazy because you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt back there. Um, they got to take a wide receiver. They also have to take a wide receiver. They have two tight ends who, to me, don't get enough usage to begin with, but they're good tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
You got two good running backs. Your offensive line is good. You can lock them up for the next 3 to 5 years, almost all of those guys. So the only thing that you're really lacking right now is a wide receiver. Yeah, so I would have back-to-back wide receivers going right there, New Orleans and Cleveland.
All right, my boy. Like always, I appreciate that college knowledge, as I call it, and you getting us right with those draft picks. Very quickly, we will take a look at this upcoming this week, and we have some great matchups. A lot of them with some playoff indicators in there, and we'll start with the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Bengals. The Bengals is +5 in this game. Which way will you go in that one?
I saw the over under at 49 too. I'm definitely taking the over on that one.
49.
49. I definitely take the over on that one. But I got Kansas City, man. They're in a position to where they finally are. Once again, we talked about it last time we was on here. They're getting into a rhythm. That offense is starting to produce as we expected to. Edwards Hilaire has become a better back than he's been so far. And once again, it's more about his receiving
Mm-hmm.
threat out of the backfield than it is
Yeah.
him running the football. Um, No Travis Kelce last week, no problem. They went out there and Pringle, every time he pops up, I'm like, dang, man, they still out here using him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they were inconsistent, but they were inconsistent for stretches. It wasn't they were good one game, bad the next. They were bad for a good 5-6 week stretch, and
Mm-hmm.
since then they've been able to turn it around. So I definitely have more confidence in them than even Joe Burrow coming off a 500-yard game.
Yep.
And Kansas City's defense hasn't been bad this year. It hasn't been bad, and it seems to be getting better every week. Yeah, I got Kansas City by a touchdown.
Yeah, and I would have took. I think I would have probably still took KC if this game was pushed. This line was pushed to 9 to 10. I still would have gave it consideration. Five definitely taking KC. At
Yeah,
the end of the day, I just don't think that Cincy is proven enough right now to say that they are anything less than a touchdown away from Kansas City. We know if that offense get the clicking early, what it can be with Pat Mahomes and all those weapons. And I feel like the defense has been better these last couple of weeks than they
yeah,
were to begin football. So all that shaped up, I'm taking KC, giving up the 5.
nice.
We'll move on to the next game where you have the Rams trying to stay afloat in the most NFC teams taking on the Ravens, someone who's crawling to kind of get back into the playoffs. Right now, that line is 3.5 to the Rams.
I think the season is over with for the Ravens. I
Okay.
think, yeah, I don't see them being able to claw their way back into this one. But I mean, look, we just took Kansas City over Cincinnati, and Cleveland is in any position to be demanding anything. So maybe. I got the Rams. 3.5 isn't enough, honestly. I would you like you said about Kansas City just now. If this was up to 10, I'd probably take it
Mm-hmm.
with the Rams. They're a team that once again they're finding a rhythm and they're getting back healthy, even when losing people. That defense is that defense is going to get after Baltimore. Hopefully, Lamar Jackson can be out there Sunday. But yeah, I don't see where that Ravens defense is going to be able to hold the Rams offense. And I think that's the difference because I could see Lamar Jackson going out there and him and Mark Andrews and Hollywood Brown being able to make some plays against the Rams defense to get up some points. But will they be able to hold the Rams to anything? And I don't think that's going to be the case. So yeah, the Rams.
And you spoke about Lamar being out there, even if it is his first game back in a while, or whatever the case may be. Then I still think that he's going to be a little rusty at times
Yeah,
throwing the football. Once again, we know what the Rams defense and offense can be. So I'm still kind of troubled about the Rams not being able to run. But either way it go, I'll take them giving up only 3.5 points to the Ravens.
yeah.
Moving on to the next game, we just spoke about how close that AFC race is. You have the Raiders plus 7.5 versus the Colts.
7.5. That's interesting. That's interesting. 7.5 against the Colts. I can't do it. I can't. 7. Yeah, yeah. Give me the Raiders. Once again, I love. We love the Colts defense. Um, Not Carson Wentz so much, but Jonathan Taylor. We know what he is. Vegas has been good enough to not be getting blown out or rolled over by any team. They keep it tough. They're usually in it at the end of the game. I don't see this being any difference because I don't see the Colts being ultra explosive in this game on offense. It's a lot of Jonathan Taylor. Take what we can get. Let's not turn the football over. That's going to result in a lot of punts. I don't think the Colts are going to go out there and beat the Raiders by 8 points. So give me the Raiders.
Normally, I would agree with you in this situation, but the Colts are coming very close to playing mistake-free football, and that's the difference for me. If I was to take the Raiders, I pretty much ask myself one question. Do I think I can stop or somewhat contain Jonathan Taylor for the
Taylor.
majority of the
Yeah.
game? And for me, that answer is no. I think that they can kind of do decent, but not enough to where he's not a factor. And long as he's toting that ball, the game is going to be that much easier for Carson Wentz and the defense. So then it becomes, well, if Derek Carr go out here and have one of his worst games or not great of a game as he could, if he plays below what we know him to be, then that just makes it even easier for the Colts. So normally I would agree with you in this situation, but Jonathan Taylor has been so great lately, and the defense has backed him up. I have to take the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Like I said, if I agree with you, it depends on what is given up to Jonathan Taylor. I feel like if they can hold them to what Arizona held him to, 18, 20 carries for 100 yards, I think that's a win. And then it comes down to, did Carson Wentz turn the football over or Derek Carr? Which one of them turned the
Exactly.
football over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, Carson Wentz has been close, but folks haven't been capitalizing on it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
even last game, he only really threw one ball that should have been picked. And we only
Yeah.
say that like it ain't nothing, but that's a big improvement for him. So I'm gonna keep this high streak with the Colts, led by that rushing game and that defense.
Okay.
All right, so this is one I can't wait to actually. So we got Tampa Bay sitting at top of their division, giving up 13 points to the Jets. Jets is the team that has been playing a little bit harder in late weeks since
Yeah.
starting quarterback back under center. So how do you kind of see that game going with the injuries that Tampa has? Do you still have them winning, giving up 13?
I'm taking the Jets points wise. The Tampa Bay should win it. I have no reason to pick Tampa Bay to not win this football game. But for one, like, let me give some credit to the Jets. Their defense, all season long, honestly, has been the part of that team to where you look at and you say, okay, I can see where they're going with this unit. This unit can be solid going
Mm-hmm.
forward, and they've been playing better all season long. Offensively, like you say, they played better since Zach Wilson has come back off an injury, and it seemed to have gotten more creative as well when it comes to their play
Mm-hmm.
calling. But once again, is if Mike Evans plays, then that that corner wide receiver matchup is going to be one that favors Tampa Bay with AB and Mike Evans. And that's before you even get to Gronk, Cameron Brate, and whoever, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, whoever they're going to be using.
Almost.
Um, but once again, two touchdowns is a lot, and I think the Jets may be able to actually score a bit in this game,
Okay.
especially if they keep up what they've been doing with Zach Wilson. Who part of it is just him becoming more familiar with his receivers, who are now finally consistently being able to be healthy. So yeah, give me Tampa to win, but give me the Jets with the points. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a fan of Wilson looking better and better each week or whatnot, but still at the end of the day, it comes down to what you have versus what they have, and to me, Tampa has so much more than what the Jets have at this point. And I honestly don't even think 13 points is a big or large enough margin to give the Jets. I still feel like Tampa Bay should win this game by 13 or more. At the end of the day, you have a veteran quarterback who definitely understands his system. The Jets don't have many ways to get pressure on Brady, and that's the only way you kind of make Brady, miss or not look so good is by pressuring him, especially up the middle. And I don't see that the Jets are going to be able to do that. I see Brady having a clean pocket. The Jets struggled against us earlier this year. That was one of our better games offensively. So I really think even if Tom Brady is missing Mike Evans, even if he is missing Godwin, and those guys do play a role, do not get it wrong. Those guys are significant to this offense. But I still think in the course of 4 quarters, they should be 13 points better. If you tell me the Jets score a late touchdown at the end to close that margin and now they lose by 10 instead of 13, cool. But going in, I feel like I would have to take Tampa to win by 13 or more.
See, so of course we touch on the Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's, Leonard Fournette's of the world. But what about if Jamel Dean and Richard Sherman and JPP? What if they don't play? And then you got Winfield, who's not playing, Mike
He has
Evans, who
played
might
it.
not play. Yeah, exactly. So
Those guys been
and we
out
already discussed that their secondary is the worst
biggest
of their
point.
team. Yeah. So I don't know. I see Jameson Crowder and those guys to be able to like I don't once again, I don't hold that secondary in high regards, and I think that New York will be willing to put Zach Wilson out there and throw the football 40 times rather than even attempt to run the football 25. So I
And
think they can
see,
go out there and throw the football, and I think they can be effective in
and
doing
see,
so.
to me, that kind of plays more in Tampa's hands because Tampa, they don't have to send five to slow down the run for anybody, let alone the Jets. So now you know you're really only sending four and playing relaxed coverage underneath and forcing this quarterback to make throws that you know he's proven that he couldn't really make all season long. When the Jets kind of do explode offensively or move the ball better offensively, it's normally because they find a way to rush the ball, and I just don't see them being able to do that against Tampa Bay, even if they're shorthanded. I do expect the Jets to turn the ball over at least two times this game, and I don't expect Tom Brady to turn the ball over. So, I mean, all that given, I hard to look up in the third quarter and say, "Oh, the Jets is right in the thick of this game against." I just don't see that. I don't see them being able to put together nothing for 4 quarters to keep them in the game.
Yeah, we feel completely different about this game, which is probably the first time this show that we
Yeah,
felt completely different about anything. Because I'm
yeah.
looking at the over under being 45, and I'm like, man, I might go under on that. Like, I don't see a lot of points being scored this game for them to even give up a 14 point, victory
And
in New
see,
York.
I have the Bay putting up 30 at least
Oh yeah, I
on
don't
New
see
York.
it. I don't see
Yeah.
it. Okay, okay. Well, we found one to where we was on opposite ends of.
Hmm.
Uh, so last one, Saints Panthers. Panthers plus 6.5. How you see that one?
It all starts with injuries, man. Who do we get back? Like we know at this point it's not looking too good for as playoff talk goes. But if you're telling me that we have the Mario Davis, Malcolm Jenkins, those type of guys back, we already know the issues that Carolina has offensively. Then I'm like, yeah, I like the Saints. But then you look at Carolina and you're like, well, they still a good defense. They start great beginning of the game, first half, whatever. It's just the offense go out there and give you absolutely nothing. So if you're telling me we have Taysom Hill, I feel comfortable saying we can beat this Carolina team by 6.5. But if you tell me that we have Ian Book out there again, then I'm not so sure. So if I got Taysom Hill, I'm taking the Saints to cover. If I don't, then I'm just taking the Saints to win.
And so I'm rolling into it just thinking everybody we lost to COVID we gonna get back except for the people that we lost Sunday, Monday, which I know is Quan Alexander. Uh, I think Deontay Harris might have been put on the list on
I think he's
Sunday.
scheduled. I think
That
he's
was his last game.
uh,
That was his last suspension. That was 3. So
Yeah,
he'll be
so
back.
he's scheduled to play. And I think it's the same thing with Quan. Quan was put on the list, I want to say Sunday it was, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
so it might be a little closer for them. Everybody
Yeah.
else was put. So I'm expecting for most people to be back. That were COVID related. Now, Toronto Armstead, we're gonna have to see. Ryan
Mhm.
Ramchick was hurt even before the COVID came down. We're gonna have to see. But having the majority of our guys back, like you say, Malcolm Jenkins, Demario Davis, having Taysom Hill back there, Carolina offensively just man they took a dive. The whole season has been a consistent a
Yeah.
consistent dive. Um, and there's nothing about that offense that I fear at this point. Not they core. Sam Darnold should be their quarterback Sunday. I'm expecting. So that's better than Cam, but it's still with our defense not something that I'm overly concerned about. So I'm 100% with you. If Taysom Hill or Trevor Simeon is out there at quarterback, I got us winning that. And by a touchdown.
But regardless, I think their defense will look just as good as our defense. I really do
Oh
like
yeah, I
Carolina
would think
defense.
that, especially because Brian Burns just went on a COVID list, so you missing your number one pass rusher
Yeah.
there.
All right,
That's
so
yeah.
if you're telling me that he's out, yeah, it makes a difference. However, I still think that they're going to put out a great effort. Carolina defense don't come into games just giving. Is that they keep getting put on the field time after
Mm,
time after time.
yeah.
Eventually, they break. But I don't think they're gonna have to worry about that. Worried about that with our offense. So I think it's gonna be a close game.
Gotcha.
What's
Gotcha.
what's the what's the what's the over under on this one?
The over under on Saints Panthers is 39.
That's extremely. I'm still kind of close to taking that under on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Still, yeah,
yeah. I don't disagree with that. I'm right
yeah.
there. I'm right there with you on that one. So yeah, man, that is it for this week. Unless there was something else you wanted to touch on.
Not right off back. I can't think of nothing. Of course, we'll be paying attention to these games as we've been saying all show. Is really coming down to playoff time. So it's
Yeah,
when the fun starts. Season flew by so fast, man.
you got the college football playoffs on kicking off Friday. I think all 4 teams play Friday, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But
How bad you got Michigan beating Georgia?
I can go ahead and tell you, I can tell you the championship right now is going to be Alabama and Georgia. You ain't got to worry about Michigan or Cincinnati doing anything out of out of nature. It's going to be Georgia and Alabama in the national championship, and
Okay.
that should be a great matchup to watch, unlike what it was in the SEC championship. But like you say, man, a lot of the games going forward is playoff implications. So
Mhm.
one reason or another, seeding or just getting in. So
Yep.
it's definitely going to be exciting to watch. I'm not even positive about who plays Thursday. That's something I didn't look at. There is no Thursday game. Okay, cool. So yeah, all Sunday football this week and Monday. So definitely got some tough matchups to look forward to. So looking forward to that.
Yes, sir.
You boys not in my league. If you listen close, I'm coaching fake. Since a boy hella dope without pushing a Blanco. Still dapping bitches like 94 in the Bronco. If it's about the money, I'm leaving the hoes pronto. If I don't do nothing, I'm about. Line up. Every time I do it to